And we are live. Hello, this is Ruben Dua from the Dubb podcast, Connection Loop. Jon, let's get right into this. Just give us some knowledge bombs here. How are we going to grow our business big, very big?
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself, tell us where we can connect with you, and start educating us because we're all
Yeah.
really curious.
So, thanks for having me on the show. I really, I appreciate it. My name is Jon Dwoskin. I'm a business coach, executive advisor, and I work with solopreneurs to Fortune companies, everything between C-level execs, owners of companies, leadership, marketing people, management and salespeople. And I love what I do. So I get to talk to people all over the globe all day, thanks to Zoom and Teams, and it's great. Where I really work with clients and help them the most is, and we'll get into some details that I think can help people overall. But where I help people most is I do a lot of real time coaching. So a client will come to me, we'll do a 3-hour deep dive where we get into everything about their past, or where they are and where they want to go. And then I'm listening for things. And as I say this, I want everybody to really kind of also think about their own business. I'm
Okay.
listening for things that are hidden in plain sight, right? That I'm listening for things on their strengths, and I'm hearing how we can scale and monetize and grow the areas of their strength.
Nice.
And while I'm doing this, I'm taking very detailed notes because I can type as fast as I can talk or think. And so my clients really appreciate that because there's so many things and the details and the nuances of the crevices that we get into, because it's all very, very real time. And so it's really important as someone who's listening to think, okay, where in my business do I need to find the space to be silent, to be still, to hear the whispers on my own, or if I have a mentor or a coach where I can speak and they can guide me. And so a lot of times it's very common. I'll be talking to clients and they'll say, oh, I've been doing it. They'll say to myself, how long have you been doing that for? They say, oh, I've been doing that way for 10 years, right? Well, what is it costing you to do it that way? What could it make you if you did it a different way? And then I customize for them a way to evolve it to the next level and then quantify the results of that. And so the people who are listening, it's really, really important to find this space of reflection every single day in your business where you can just look and see what's working, but also what can be more effective. What are we complacent in our business, and we're just kind of going through the motions as we look at the business. Right now in a post-COVID world, I think it's difficult. It's more difficult for people today because they're so distracted. And so the days of building a 10-year plan is hard because there's a law of proximity where we almost don't even know what that looks like, because so much technology has not been invented yet on what's going to actually get us 10 years from today. I mean, if we look back at November 30th of 2022, AI changed everything and is going to continually change everything with the billions of dollars into it. The technology that's going to spur from that, it's almost hard. So one of the things I actually posted on my social platform today is the clients that I work with, we build 10-year plans, and then we reverse engineer them to 5-year plans and 3-year plans and 2-year plans and 1-year plans. And we really focus on the quarter, because in the quarter, it's a very close proximity where I can see my business in the next 90 days. I can see all of the things that will accelerate and multiply my business. I can see very hands-on the leading activities, if done properly, how, even if done a small amount every day, will compound to a very big results. And so sometimes people get lost in admin work, which are not activities you get paid for, and they're doing those throughout the prime business hours of a day. When I'm working with my clients, I'm looking at all of this. We're reorganizing their day. We're getting them to be masters of their calendar. We're getting them to understand what their prime business hours are. And then we're looking at every spectrum of their business. So for your listeners, what's your morning routine like? How are you messaging your company? How are you talking to your employees? how are you leading your company through distraction? I'll stop there just so I don't want to,
That's a good place. It's interesting. I spent a lot of my time thinking about how I can focus on intention versus distraction. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, there's really these two realms that we live in quite
Sure.
frequently, which is, are we intentional or are we distracted? Because
Correct.
we all know that the amount of distractions has skyrocketed with all the technology, all the channels, all the mediums. Now AI, which makes it so easy for people to basically create any type of content, it just means that there's more distractions.
Right.
So how can we sharpen the pencil to stay intentional? How can we stay on the 10-year plan, knowing what our momentary priorities are, scaling up to what we need to do on a quarterly and an annual basis?
Yeah. Well, I think, I love talking about intention too, because you have to pause to set the intention. And we have to set an intention and then give it attention and then prioritize it. And I think where sometimes, Ruben, people kind of do it, but then they don't prioritize it and say, okay, I'm going to prioritize what I'm putting my attention to and what my intention is. And then I'm going to put it in my calendar so I can increase the probability that I'm actually going to do what I set out to do. A lot of times people just leave it in their head. So I set an intention, I put attention on it, but I don't write it down to hold myself accountable that I actually have to do it. So it just kind of lives in the abyss. And so I want to move it to a place that's going to hold me accountable. And if I need to adjust my day accordingly, so be it. But at least it is there. So I know I need to actually get to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So there's this thing that happens quite often with folks that are offering something. Anyone that's doing any type of sales or outreach, there's this funny little things that happens, which I love to explore, which is a prospective client comes to us and says, I can't quite afford this, or this is not not a good fit for me, or for whatever reason, there's some sort of an objection. Okay. And then 6 months or 12 months go by, and then they come back and they said, I had a chance to think about it, and we've had a really rough year. We haven't seen the growth that we want to get, and we're not just achieving our goals in the way that we want to achieve them. And they come back and they say, are you still available? Can you work with me? Right? And you see this in coaching, you see this in software, you see this in product, services, anything, right? And for when that happens to you, what do you hear most frequently? What is it that made them realize that, they actually do need to invest in their growth plan?
Yeah. A couple things. Typically my business is all is growing through referrals. And what I find is that when people come to me, they've already done a lot of research on me. They've listened to my podcast, they've watched my videos, they've read my blog.
Podcast drop. What's the name?
Dropped. Think Business.
There it is, right there.
And so Think Business with Jon Dwoskin. So they've done a lot of research on me, and then I have kind of a flow of what that initial conversation sounds like, the questions I'm going to ask them, the things of that nature, and really the questions that open up kind of where their pain is, so I can provide them a roadmap of where I know that I can help them. My conversions are really high. What I don't do is I don't give out references, because I don't do contracts. My clients consider me a month-to-month investment, and I guarantee everything that I do. And I tell people, if they don't like it, then don't pay me. And the reason I don't give out references is because if I can't, if through my questions, I'm not bringing out enough of a reason for them to work with me, then anybody that they talk to, because I guarantee everything I do, isn't going to do them anything. And so what I realize is that if people don't end up working with me, it's typically because I haven't asked the right questions. I don't have enough social proof for them out on the internet. And the person who referred me, typically when someone refers me, that usually goes a long way. And so it increases my probability of getting it. But typically people are, if they're referred to me and they're closed-minded, nothing I say to them can break through. So it doesn't matter how much marketing I have or what I'm telling them or what I'm doing or how much content I provide. If they're closed-minded, I can't open up a closed mind. So I can do a lot of great things for clients, but not if they're closed-minded. And so what will happen is, as they go through the journey over the next couple of months, if they begin to become open-minded, then they will call me and say, hey, remember the stuff we talked about? I'm ready. And it's not because of me per se, it's because of their journey from closed-mindedness to open-mindedness. And so I always I'm always open to talk to people because I realize that everybody's on a journey and they're either closed-minded or open-minded. And if they are referred to me with all the stuff that I do and they're closed-minded, I can't help them. That's why I don't give out references, because no reference is going to open a closed mind. So when they're open-minded, then I can raise their awareness. Then I can show them the tools, how I can help them. Then I can do my work. If they're closed-minded, I can't do my work. So I just kind of will have a conversation with them, and they'll go their way, I'll go my way. They'll be they're typically on my mailing list, but I'll wait for them to reach out.
Great. Okay, so here's my question on that, is that it makes a lot of sense to me that we want to align ourselves with open-minded people. Open-minded people are the people that make the world go round because they want to take risks and they want to invest into certain things and they want to think differently and they frankly want to solve problems.
Yeah.
So now let's just say that someone is open-minded about solving their problem, but they're not necessarily open-minded about working with an individual, right? Working with a service person that can guide them to the place that they want to be. So how do we empathetically take someone to a place where maybe they were burned in the past? Maybe they had a bad experience with someone, and frankly, John, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do everything with the past experiences that they have. How can we guide them to become more open-minded with us? You mentioned social proof, so I definitely want to touch upon that.
Well, I think it's kind of saying to them, hey, I agree with you. I would be skeptical too. I mean, you need to make the right choice, and I'm here to help you make the right choice. And if it's me, great. If it's not, you got to go with somebody who resonates with you the most. I'm all about, if I can help somebody figure out who the right person is for them, it's fine. I think that it's, an investment in yourself. We have got to be part of the journey, right? So if somebody says, hey, I've been burned in the past and this and the other, I say, okay, well, I hear you. Let's kind of talk that through. Let's kind of see where you believe I would even burn you or where you would feel burned in the process, even though that's not going to happen from my perspective, but your perception is reality. So let's kind of talk about what you are worried about. I'm happy to talk through the process. I think a lot of times people just don't dive into that, right? I'll dive into that and help them think it through. And so if I can help them think it through, and then I always tell people, and I mean this, you have to make the right decision for you on who resonates with you. Right. And I'm happy to be part of the conversation for you to figure it out. Versus me say like, oh, I'm the right person because of A, B, and C and X, Y, and Z. It's like, all right, let's you lead the conversation, and I'm here to kind of be a guide and ask you some questions along the way. So that's kind of how I look at it.
I really appreciate that approach. What I'm hearing a lot here is the importance of listening.
Correct.
But first, I'll share a quick joke with you, which is that if they've told you that they've been burned in the past, then you might want to just say, the fire behind me in that video loop of a fireplace is to fuel you with energy, not to burn you.
Exactly. Right. Well, if they've been burned in the past, that's very real. I mean, I'm a high ticket investment. So if somebody has felt burned, I never want them feeling burned with me. So that's one of the reasons. That's not one of the reasons, but it helps that I don't do any contracts, and I guarantee everything I do. So that I work with very successful people all over the globe who are stuck, and I get them unstuck. I never want them stuck in a contract with me. It's my job to bring value, and that's that.
Well, I think a lot of the times what people work through is this idea. There's an idea of having a scarcity mindset, and when you have a scarcity mindset, it enables us, um, and it prevents us sometimes from doing certain things. And one of the things that you mentioned is that you want to be value first. You want to focus on value, and you never want someone to be locked in with you. That makes
Correct.
a lot of sense to me. Someone might say, well, I have to have contracts because that's the only way I can monetize this and justify the advertising and the operations expenses and the investments that we make into clients. And then on the flip side, you could say, well, we don't have a scarcity mindset. We have an abundance mindset,
Yeah.
and we never want someone to feel like they're obligated to be with us. In fact, that's what keeps us so sharp. So how do we find a balance of having an abundant mindset, but
Yeah.
at the same time, making it so that we can find balance in our business and profitability and sustainability and long-term growth?
Yeah. Spend 15 minutes a day reflecting on the growth of your business and where you can monetize different pieces of your business. Pay attention to what you're charging and see if the market will begin to pay more. Look at different elements of your business and see where you can cut expenses, and see what is necessary and what isn't necessary. But I also think that's an inside game, right? Abundance is an inside game, and so you got to do a lot of internal work, and because you got to begin to change, you got to change the narrative. I've had to do it. I grew up with a lot of kind of perceptions about money that just weren't in alignment with me, and so, but you still have all the voices in your head. And so you got to do a lot of internal work and let things go. Quiet time, meditation, and reading, research, study. You got to work on that muscle of yourself no differently than when you go to the gym. And so I don't think it's like a quick fix. I think it's, hey, I'm going to commit to this, and my mind is just as an important muscle as my biceps if I were to go to the gym. So I'm going to spend 3 to 5 minutes every day working on my mind, and then commit to it and put it in my calendar and make it a part of my everyday, no differently than I do drinking water.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people don't think about like, oh, I really have to like work at that. Right. And so that's what you got to do, in my opinion.
So yeah, this is really great. So if you could please, if you're willing and able, give us a guided reflection experience, a meditation. Like, take us there. I'm there in those 3 minutes. You know, it's the morning. I can't tell you how many people have said, I need to meditate more. Gosh,
So
I wish I meditated more.
So
Take us there.
Yeah.
We're listening.
So, there's a great meditation, where you can just make it very, very simple and count down from five times. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's another meditation where you can inhale for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, and then exhale for 5 seconds. Do that 5 times. That will get you out of fight or flight. So if you just, or to make it even simpler, if you just woke up every morning, close your eyes or open them, it doesn't matter, and then just take 10 deep breaths in your nose and out your mouth. Right. So we take 8.6 million breaths a year, and sometimes we just forget to breathe. The more we focus on our breath, the more and the faster we will get back to center, so we can get grounded in ourselves to grow personally and professionally.
I really appreciate that. I'll throw a book recommendation here. Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule.
Yeah, I love it. I love Mel Robbins. That was a great book.
Yeah. And in that moment where you feel you actually can feel the chemical. You can feel your cortisol and the stress chemical when you find yourself in a tumultuous or contentious situation, and you really have no control. A lot of the times you are hijacked. Your amygdala is hijacked, as my friend Josh Berkowitz says. And I think that it's interesting because we can overcome that fight, flight, freeze experience that we have innately, which is very important to our survival. Next time a truck comes racing at you, watch what your body does.
Yeah.
So let's not fight that. Let's just figure out when to use this 5-second rule, or in this case, of meditation. So
Yeah,
I really
I love
appreciate
that.
that.
Thank you.
Reflection, meditation. You talked about reverse engineering. Maybe we can end with, what is reverse engineering? If I have my 10-year plan, which is to sell Dubb for $1 billion,
Sure.
right? I want to sell my software video company for $1 billion.
Yeah. Then
Now,
you
help
just,
me.
yeah,
What is the starting point?
yeah,
Obviously, this would probably take us a year to figure out.
yeah,
But what is the starting point for me
right.
to reverse engineer that?
Well, I work with clients like you all the time, but in
Yeah,
quick summary, in under kind of 30 seconds, you take it, 10 years, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, by quarter, by quarter, by quarter, by quarter, and bring it down into the quarter, the week, the quarter, the month, the week, the day. And
hmm.
you know what you got to do every single day, and then you just work it. It's that
Boom.
simple. The hard part is in the execution and in the discipline. That's why I work with my clients on a consistent basis to keep them intact. To keep
Love it,
them intact, yeah.
Jon. Where can we learn more about you? Your
Yeah.
website, your social handles.
My cell phone is 248-535-7796. Anybody can call or text me. My website is jondwoskin.com, and you can get to all my social platforms, blogs, video tips, everything you could possibly want from there.
There it is. So I'm going to put the cell phone number right there, and I encourage people to check it out. Jon, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah. You can bounce out.
Oh,
Thank
we
you
good.
so much, folks. We had with us Jon today. This was a great experience. I think reverse engineering is a really important thing that we all need to learn how to do. I encourage you guys to figure out, what is it that you are trying to accomplish. I mean, Jon gave us some really good points and some guides there, and it's really on us. And if we can't do it ourselves, frankly, we need to find someone like Jon. So thank you so much for joining us in this episode of the Connection Loop podcast, and we'll see you at the next show. And don't forget, check out dubb.com if you want to send a personalized video message to anyone in your sphere or outside of your sphere, because the human connection is what it's all about. Thanks so much.